What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Amateur Moto Show. I'm your host, Derek Darby. Welcome to the very first episode, first of many, of the Amateur Moto Show here from Blank Studio in Fort Worth, Texas. We have a lot of big plans, aspirations to shed light on amateur motocross, the wonderful sport that we all love, and we are excited that you are choosing to spend your time with us. Our guest today is a 20-time amateur motocross champion, KTM Junior Supercross champion, 10-time Supercross top 10 finisher, 2019 Arena Cross champion, and now the owner of one of the hottest amateur motocross tracks in America. Ladies and gentlemen, Jace Owen. Woo!
Let's get it.
Cue the soundbite, the applause, please. Thank you very much. I'm going to throw myself under the bus. Ladies and gentlemen, Jace and I have actually been talking for freaking like 20 minutes. And the professional that I am, I hit record on all the cameras. Camera 1, camera 2, both the audio. The genius that I am forgot to hit record on Jace's end. So we have 20 minutes of some stellar audio, but we don't have Jace's luscious curly locks, but now we do. Ladies and gentlemen, Jace Owen. Jace, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Stoked to be on the show. First episode. Ready to kick this thing off with a bang and fire it up on all cylinders.
I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties, but we tried to do this Friday. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties. I was telling you that today I just feel so much more refreshed and energized. Battling the kidney stones for about 2 weeks. I was trying not to wince in pain sitting here Friday when we were trying to get everything set up, but with the internet issues at the track, man, it's kind of better the way that things worked out. So thank you so much for being flexible and joining us today. We've got a lot to talk about. You have quite the amateur motocross career, and then everything that you have going on at Lincoln Trail, the Thor Series Showdown, round 10 coming up this weekend that we'll talk about. VIP. What's the name of it? It's VIP.
VIP Academy MX.
Yeah.
VIP, it stands for Vision, Improve, Perform.
Love that. So yeah, we've got Lincoln Trail round 10 of Thor Series Showdown. We've got the motocross training that you're going to do. We'll talk about that a little bit. And I'm just so happy to have you here, man. Let's start with the amateur motocross career. 20-time national champion, 2-time Loretta's champion. Tell me a little bit about your background. I know that, I've read up on you a little bit. So you started in flat track and then moved to motocross. What was that like for you, making that transition? Obviously, it worked out for you. But, yeah, just tell me a little bit about your amateur career.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, it kicked off with flat track. My parents own Motorsports, own motorcycle dealerships in Central Illinois. And when I was 4, they brought me home a bike, and that's kind of like what started it all. I fell in love with riding, no training wheels, no nothing. Like when I was a little kid, I think I was like 2 or 3, I'd ride bicycles, I'd do wheelies, I'd loop the thing out. So the seats on the back were always just busted from me looping out and whatever. But so I started in flat track when I was 4, and I think I did that for a couple years, and then someone kind of introduced my parents to motocross. I was like, hey, you need to come out to Lincoln Trail and try out a motocross race. It's got jumps. It's not just an oval. It's got left turns, right turns, excuse me, things like that. And I was like, all right, yeah, let's do it. I mean, my parents were on board with it, and I took a liking to that. Yeah, that's what I did. And I think from that day on, I don't know if I ever even did another flat track race after that. I can't remember, but
I was about to ask you, did you ever venture back to flat track, but you never did?
No, I really don't think I did. I think once I made that transition, I did a motocross race. I was like, dude, this is way more fun. Were you good at flat track? Yeah, like I would say that I was good. Like, you know,
At
like
four,
locally, I would
at
just
4 years old, I mean, yeah.
right. Yeah, I would say like I was okay. You know, for just getting into it and racing. You know, just around the area. We wouldn't travel too far. Like
Yeah.
just in the area, and I would do that. And I was on I was on a PW at the time. You know,
Just
or
ripping,
maybe it
baby.
got up. Yeah, maybe got up to into a 50 junior or something. But yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
where it all started. And then that led into starting to race at Lincoln Trail. And back in the day, they would have a race every other weekend, truly. So like I would race there 20, 25 times, you know, different weekends a year because we would just do that. And then, you know, at the time I was chasing the points. I was chasing the District 17 points. You know, like I went through all that phase of what a lot of these kids in our area are doing now. And now we we do have the showdown series, which is it's huge. You know, if you want to come
Awesome.
to a track and get full gates for an amateur motocross series, like you know, we have divisions a lot of times in these classes. Like it's insane. But
We'll talk
so
about
back to
that a
my
little bit.
racing.
We'll talk about that a little bit more later because us down here in Texas, I'll tell you, we are extremely jealous. I'm on my personal Facebook page. I'm sharing Lincoln Trail information about how well you guys are running that series. We're down here in Texas, and like I said, we'll maybe get into this later, but the track owners are fighting. And, bro, I'm telling you, we're getting like 3 to 5 bikes on the line in Texas, in Dallas, Fort Worth. It's freaking nuts.
There,
These track owners need to figure this shit out. But yeah, it's very infuriating. So to see you guys, I was scrolling through the results on y'all's on your website, and I think maybe I started with the Abe first, just because
yeah,
I know that that's a dirty 100, and I saw how many were there for that, and then I looked at the other, like every freaking round, bro. You guys have like 800 entries, like 30 bikes on
right,
the line. What is that? I mean,
yeah.
that's just extremely jealous. Extremely happy for you guys, and the riders up there. But yeah, that's I digress a little bit. Let's go back to that amateur career.
Yeah, no, we'll get back into that, like you said. But no, it is incredible. And as far as back to my amateur career, you know, so I started racing locally, and I did go to Loretta's my 50 senior year. I did do that. I think I ended up, I don't know, around top 20 or something like that. But
Still
I
very
ended up
good.
doing the K.
Still very
Yep,
good
yep.
at Loretta's.
Solid. Yep. First time going, had no expectations, didn't know what to do. But, you know, that's how I ended up. And then that year I also did the KTM Junior Challenge, and I got invited to go race in Indianapolis, and I ended up winning that. And it was just kind of like a shock, you know, like I'm freaking at the Supercross, pitted under the KTM, you know, KTM Junior semi, getting new gear, getting new helmet. You know, I think it's a Grant Langston M2R replica, like this neon orange, had like zebra stripes, something on it. I mean, dude, just sick, like so rad.
Yeah.
And then when I won that, I was like, well, you get to go to Vegas to the MGM, and you get to rate like everybody that won at each venue, you know, gets to go race, have a race off, and it's like a 2-moto format. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, that's freaking sweet. Had no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
Didn't know that if I could, you know, be up there in the front or whatever. And the first moto, I got third. And I remember asking my parents, like, hey, what do I got to do to win? And they're like, just get a good start and just go be you. Go be yourself and do the best you can do.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And, like, we'll be proud of you. Like, we're just happy to be here. And ended up winning that thing. And I won the overall. Like, I freaking won the overall, and I was just like, dude, no way. Like, now I have to, you know, get interviewed in front of all these people, and like, oh my God, like, what the hell is going on? Like,
what?
Super probably overwhelming, scared, answer the questions, probably yes, no.
Yeah. Oh my God,
like,
dude.
Right.
I'm working on that with my son, and actually, the last podium speech he did, shout out to my son Cooper. He got third at Oak Hill's Super Duper Amateur Supercross round this last round.
Oh yeah.
But we've been working with him on the podium speeches because every time somebody would put Bobby Hedge would put the mic on him. How's the race? Good.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part? Good. Like, no, bro, like, God, say something.
Yeah. Was it the turn? Was it the ruts? Was it
Yeah.
a certain jump? You were getting a little bar turn. I mean,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Yeah, and then like the beginning of it, we started on the P-Dub too, but I think one time they'd asked what his favorite part was, and he said the jumps, but he wasn't even jumping at that time. Like he's still rolling everything.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
So KTM Junior Supercross Challenge. Shout out to KTM Junior Supercross. Registration for that is about to open up, and we're gonna try to get Cooper signed up for that. As an 8-year-old,
definitely.
so at that time you're 7, 8 years old. Obviously you're doing really good. You win your round. What is that like, racing in front of tens of thousands of people on the gate drop?
I mean, yeah, for me, I think it was just like, it was such a shell shock to where I like couldn't even really absorb everything that was going on, which probably was a good thing at the time, right?
Yeah.
Because like I hadn't done a bunch of amateur nationals. I didn't really know necessarily fully what I was getting into besides like, hey, I would race at Lincoln Trail and I did a few other local races in the series or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'm going and racing against, what really was like some of the top kids in the nation, especially, that went to Vegas was a lot of the kids, that like was winning Lorettas or battling for that. And I was nowhere even in sight for any of that. But I think I just adapted well to, the tighter racing, the Supercross style. Like I gelled with that. I was a technical rider and, going into my pro career, that's why towards the end, I didn't even do motocross. I was just an arena cross, Supercross only guy. Right. So like, I didn't even do outdoors. So I think that's kind of like, even back then, it was like, even on a 50, I kind of had a little bit of a bread and butter for that. But I ended up, so then once I won Vegas, I still have the 50. So when I won, they let me keep the 50 that I won on. Like they sent that thing, like crated it up, shipped it, sent me this sick BMX bike.
That's
like
so sick.
I don't remember whose replica bike it was or whatever, but like they sent that stuff to me, and it was just like that was like a dream come true. And I think, I was already so hooked before that, but then realizing like, man, you do good, like you get stuff too, you get free stuff, like new gear, right? Like all this stuff. And I was just like, dude, this is awesome. So, then leading into the 60s and stuff, like I felt like I just continually kept climbing. On a 60, I wasn't a kid that was winning championships. Even really once I was on an 80 until I really was like the last year on an 80 getting into my, super mini career, which is when I got picked up by Rockstar Suzuki. So yeah, pretty much, coming through, I kept just kind of getting a little bit better. I think on a 60s, my first year I went, I was, still a mid-pack kid. And then the 65 senior, I think it was mod or the 7 to 11 class at the time, I got fifth. And that's kind of where I felt like things changed a little bit, like, okay, now I'm starting to become one of these, front running kids more, not as consistent, I'm still a ways off those top kids, but like I'm steadily creeping, I'm steadily climbing.
Yeah.
And then, so then that next year I was on CR85s. I was one of the only kids on Honda 85s still at the time. The bikes are kind of getting outdated. They hadn't changed them in a long time. And kind of when things really took off was, I guess I remember my 85 senior, or the 12 to 13, my young year, I think I got like 9th place. I got top 10 as a young kid, and I was like, man, like next year, I think I can do something. You know what I mean? Like I can be a front runner. And I think looking back, kind of the time frame is, I started realizing like mentally, I am one of these kids. And the following year, as I was still on a Honda, no support from any manufacturers, getting a little bit of help from some sponsors, nothing crazy. It was mainly just my parents still helping and supporting me. And I went to Loretta's, and, that 85, 12, 13, that's a pretty pristine class. And I got third. And I would say that third is when everything changed. That's when people started coming up to me. That's when Suzuki came up to my parents, Colgrass at the time. And, it was like, we love what we see in your boy. Like, we want to get him on board, and we want to help and support him and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was kind of really that transition of, man, I got on the podium. I got one of them big rock stone things that they had at Loretta's for many years.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this thing weighed freaking 30 pounds. You know, it's so cool. But that's when I got hooked up with Rockstar Suzuki. That's when I shift gear at the time, Fox and Shift no longer in business, but like I was like their top amateur kid. And then MTF, Millsouth Training Facility, came up to us and gave me a scholarship. You know, just they liked what they saw. I think they saw that I wasn't necessarily one of those kids that was necessarily supposed to be on the podium, because there was, you know, a lot of factory kids in those classes, but I wasn't one of them at the time.
Who's this
and
kid?
I think they liked what exactly. Kind of like that, like, who's this kid? And so they gave me a scholarship, and that was kind of like my parents being like, yeah, we'll get you to a training facility and we'll get you down there. And because it's such a sacrifice, you know, as a family, as a parent, like, you know, I'm from Illinois. And that was another thing. I couldn't ride year round where I was at here in Illinois. So that was another, you know, problem and issue. So then when I did that, I was able to ride and train year round. And being down there at the facility, I mean, that helped me tremendously. At the time, riding with faster kids, learning so much, a lot of knowledge, you know, that I still carried through the years and just kept going and going and going. But, you know, it taught me a lot of, I guess, work ethic and hard work and what it takes. And, you know, so I guess leading into that, my first year riding for Rockstar Suzuki, first year super mini classes, I think at Loretta's I got 4th and 5th place. And then the following year is when I won my first championship at Loretta's. And that was such just a weight off my shoulders, because I wanted to be a champion so freaking bad. Like, that's like all I wanted growing up, you know, is to be a champion at Loretta's and, you know, do what it took to get there. And then once I did that, you know, I was 2 super mini classes, and actually I won the one class, and the other class, the second moto, I was leading with about a lap and a half to go. And my bike blew up. Just absolutely devastated.
Damn,
but the cool thing is I was able to rebound and still win that other championship in the other super mini class. And with that being said, I was like, all right, this is my last mini bike race. I'm going to big bikes. So I didn't even race the last super mini moto in that other class because I didn't have a chance at it. And I could have went out just for bragging. I was trying to get a win, but I was like, man, no cooler way than to be a champion at Loretta's on a you know, in the super mini class on a small bike heading in, you know, getting on into the big bike class, into the big bike ranks. And I was like, this is so cool, like all time high. So that's kind of how that happened. And then I ended up getting picked up by Rockstar Extreme Suzuki, and that was like the elite for the big bikes. Bobby Hewitt owned that, and he was the Rockstar Suzuki pro team at the time as well. So with that, when I signed a deal with them, I really was supposed to turn pro with them and everything. Like, that was kind of, you know, what was supposed to happen through my career. I was kind of, you know, Suzuki's kid climbing through and going up. And I won schoolboy class in 2011, schoolboy 2 on the 4-stroke, and then in schoolboy 1 on the 2-stroke. I thought I was going to win that class because I was really good. I was smaller a little bit, so the 125 suited me well, even though it was like a 2006 and 2011. Again, I was racing an older bike because Suzuki didn't make them. But you know, they tried to build me the best bike that they could and stuff like that. But it was cool, man. Like, and I crashed every single moto on the 125, but I still got third. So I got a first and a third in the schoolboy classes, heading into B class. And that was kind of at the time the transition changed to where Suzuki wanted me to go out to California. So I moved out to California, and I was training with Randy Lawrence. He was our trainer, which, you know, he's training Jason Anderson, Blake Wharton, Hunter Hewitt at the time. And then I think it was me, you know, it was kind of us 4, and those are the pro guys. And then I was like the amateur kid, but like my plan was to go pro with them.
Right.
So I ended up kind of had a struggle year in B class, spring nationals. I won a couple championships in B, you know, like, and my biggest competition at the time was like Cooper Webb, Matt Bisceglia, McElrath was good. Like, a lot of the guys that are still racing at the top of the class, right?
Those guys are pretty good. They're pretty good.
Yeah. Not too shabby,
Not
right?
bad,
Like,
not
I
bad.
guess but then when it came to Loretta's, I struggled a little bit. Like, I was kind of supposed to win everything, and I got fourth in both classes. And at the time, that's when Suzuki went bankrupt. Team was just things just weren't aligning, man. Like, wrong place, wrong time. And I feel like truly a lot of my career kind of went that way, but
Yeah.
it made me who I am. It made me who I am today, and everything happens for a reason. I'm a true believer in that. And that's, I guess, and that's where we are. So I ended up, everything fell through with Suzuki after, right before Mini O's is when they're like, yeah, we just don't got the budget. Your contract pretty much is ripped in half. And, I mean, what do you do at that point, right? Like, so
Damn.
I tried to make the most of it, raced on a couple bikes that I had. I think I set the fastest last time at Mini O's. I didn't win any championships, but I got a bunch of seconds and thirds. I felt like I made a great presence, but everybody already had their rides and everything secured heading into that, that following year already. Like, deals are already done and all that type of stuff. So I ended up just, with my parents having the motorcycle dealerships, I ended up just buying a couple Hondas. My parents were like, my dad, he's like, if you want to do this, like, prove you want to do it, and I'll sell you bikes at cost, but you're going to pay for them.
Yeah.
You want to get the engines done, you're going to pay for them. You got to find these sponsors, you're going to do it. So
which is good, right? I mean,
yeah,
looking back as a 17-year-old, you're probably like, what the heck, man? Like, you're my dad, we own a power
right,
sports
yeah.
store. Let's do this. But
Right.
now that you're 30, happy late birthday. Just had your birthday 2 weeks ago, something like that. The big 3-0.
Dirty 30.
The dirty 30. Now, looking back, that dad was actually teaching you a very valuable lesson. So, shout out, Dad. Oh, we're at Owen Motorsports today, right? Is that where you're at today?
Yeah.
Shout
I'm
out,
posting up in Owen Motorsports.
shout out to Pops and Owen Motorsports. So, let me ask you a question. What was the pressure like at Loretta's? So your first year going into Loretta's, did you know that you had a chance to win, or was it something that just kind of took you by surprise? What was that pressure like?
So the first year that I won Loretta's, you're saying?
Yeah.
Like, did I go in there knowing that I could win?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I did. I felt like I finally, like, the year before, I was top kid. I was up there just a little bit off. The older kids were just that little bit quicker than me. Then I had a whole another year of training. And actually, I think the year that I won Loretta's, I was training at home. I had moved back to Illinois, and I was just training out at my track that I grew up on too.
Yeah.
And that's where I was kind of training at the time. And I just really, loved the environment and what was going on. And I feel like I was kind of maybe a little bit of a sleeper. Like, we had our amateur nationals leading up to it.
How did you do in those? How did you do in those nationals leading up?
So I was still like a top 3 kid. I won some championships that year too, though. So, like, I was kind of a kid that, there was like 3 of us that was kind of like, 3, 4 of us, like, hey, any of you guys could win. But I felt like I really showed up at Loretta's, right? Like, I felt like when I needed to show up there, I did show up.
Yeah.
And truthfully, I think I would have been a champion in both those classes, but with, having a bike malfunction and stuff, I just was a champion in the one class.
Yeah.
But I would say that for me, like, when I had that group of support and help and everything, I thrived off of pressure, and I thrived off of, like, excelling and being in that environment, but then when you're not super confident and you're down a little bit, that pressure can eat you up, right? So when you're, like, thriving and it's like pressure's on you, but you got a great support team, you had a great off season, that you're 100% healthy. I mean, it's close to 100% healthy. I feel like no one's ever fully healthy. You always got some nagging something going on.
Yeah.
I just
whether
felt like
it's
I was
physical
like,
or mental, I think the mental aspect of the game of this sport.
Spot on,
dude. If you're struggling mentally, that can be worse than struggling physically for sure.
Oh yeah, big time. And mental, it's so mental. This game is.
Yeah.
And I even had a sports psychologist when I was younger, and then you go through that time frame. I felt like those years when I did need one, I just probably didn't want to accept it at the time and just kind of thought I could figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
But it's all like a learning curve and a learning experience. And that's like the things that I want to help and teach this younger generation. And that's, you know, because I had a lot of highs and also had a lot of lows, right? Like my career was up and down, up at amateur, and then especially in the pros. My whole amateur career, I never even got hurt. I mean, yeah, I had concussions and I had some yard sales for sure, but I got really, really lucky. And then once I turned pro, I think it just was a constant battle and fight that I had day in and day out. But that's what created me into who I am today. And that's why I'm in this position. And now I'm sitting here, you know, purchased Lincoln Trail Motorsports. I'm starting up VIP Academy MX there. I feel like there's a great, like we're in the Midwest here. You can't go year round with a training facility, but there's a market up here. There's so many fast and good kids up here. And I also plan to pull from all over. Like it's not just going to be area right here. Like I want to pull from everywhere. I want to get some of these fastest top kids, help the kids that I've already been working with. But I'm telling you, I got a great group of 65, 85, 50 kids right now that I'm already working with that, man, they're studs. Like they're starting to show up and I can't wait. And I know they're so excited too for next year with what we got going on. And hopefully bringing some people from this area, you know, start taking them to nationals and getting up there running with those kids, you know, and trying to get them some help and support and all that type of stuff.
What was your favorite class in the amateur level? What was the favorite class that you raced?
I would say that it would have to be, I'd say Super Mini was like kickoff one, because, you know, that was like, I got to the point finally to where I could be a champion in the class, right? Like all those others, like I kept climbing and like that window, right? I just kept closing it. And then finally, once I hit that second year in the Super Mini class, I was like, I can win. I knew that I could show up and win, right? Like it wasn't just a thing of telling me. It was like, man, I can show up here
Bring it, baby.
And I can win. Right.
Bring it.
Give me the money.
Yeah, for real.
No, yeah. And then I would say right after that led into Schoolboy though. Schoolboy was such a change too for me because that was a point like in amateur motocross, Extreme Suzuki was really the only team at the time, you know, that had a semi and had that presence. And they were also a pro team on top of it. So I'm like, man, I get a pit out of here. Like I'm getting dressed up there. Like it was just that click of those cool things that do build confidence as you're going through the steps and climbing that ladder.
That must be quite the feeling. You're 15, 16 years old, getting dressed in a semi. Yeah. Your bike is prepped for you. It's washed every time, sparkling clean. You've got everything you need. I can't imagine what that must have been like.
Yeah, no, it is. It really is. It was like a dream, and you know, having a full-time mechanic and like all that stuff. It's just it takes a lot to continue to just get there. You know what I mean? But it's so rewarding and it's so cool once you get it. Like once you set goals out and you do achieve them and you just small ones, big ones, whatever that case may be, like there's nothing like, and I'm probably biased because dirt bikes and racing and stuff, man, but there's nothing like in this world that's like freaking racing dirt bikes and motocross, supercross.
Dude, they're really
amateur moto, right? Like
the family environment, you know, whether you're at the local level or the national level, you know, at the national level, you still run into some people that you race with locally.
Right.
It doesn't matter, man. It's anywhere you go. It's the camaraderie. You know, I went to school with kinesiology. My major's in kinesiology. I thought I was going to be a baseball coach, a biology teacher. I was director of baseball operations at a Division II school here in Texas. And I thought I was going to be a baseball dad, man. My son's going to grow up. We're going to have Tuesday, Thursday night practices. We're going to have 8 a.m. baseball tournaments all freaking day in 100 degree summers. And then all of a sudden, you know, and my son Cooper, he did play a little one year T-ball, 1 or 2 years of soccer is like chasing cats, bro. It's brutal. And then one day, he was like, "Dad, I want a dirt bike," and I'm like, "What? No, but we're playing baseball, brother." And so, actually, funny. This is a true story. My son didn't even know how to ride a bicycle, so I said, "Cooper, if we buy you a dirt bike, you're going to need to learn how to ride a bicycle." And we had tried to get him to ride a bicycle, but he had never showed any interest in it. But he sees the YouTube video and knows that he's got to learn. So I say, if you want to get a dirt bike, you need to learn how to ride a bicycle. Bro, freaking 30 minutes. He's outside and riding that freaking bicycle, no training wheels. I even have a video. If I can figure out how to do it, I'll put it up here. But he's like, "We're riding it. I'm getting a dirt bike now, baby." And Christmas comes, we get him a dirt bike. But this is embarrassing. We don't get him an actual like gas powered bike. We get like a little electric bike from Target. You know those little like Razor dirt bikes.
Yeah.
So we buy some gear off of Facebook Marketplace. He's riding the bike around the street, and we're like, "All right, well, let's go to a track." So we take him to Village Creek Motocross Park here in Fort Worth on the Razor dirt bike.
Been there.
On the Razor dirt bike, Jace, and it doesn't even have the power to like get up the jumps. And we are so,
Dude, I love it.
My wife and I were like, "We have to get out of here. This is so embarrassing." My son is like bawling on the car. We were there. I don't remember how long we were there for, but it wasn't very long. But we get him the P-Dub, and the rest is history for him. But it was so embarrassing. It's so funny. But I honestly, dude, I can't imagine doing anything else. I can't imagine going to sit at a baseball park now. Or, soccer field or whatever. Whenever I want to get out and be with my friends, we go to the track. The friendships that we've built over the last 3 years, I was worried about not having that camaraderie or that team aspect. But you go to the track, and when Cooper was on a P-Dub, I was going around helping everybody else tune their P-Dubs. Just because I just enjoyed it so much. Everybody was so willing to help me that I just felt like you feel like you have to pay it forward somehow.
Right.
I love that.
Because it is. It's such a family atmosphere and environment, like you said. It truly is. And I think what's cool is, like, I feel like everyone's, like, first kind of story, right? Like, their first experience getting into the racing or whatever. Like, it's a pretty funny story. Like, where everyone is just like, "Dude, I was so clueless. Had no idea what was going on. Made a fool of myself." But, like, that's what's cool. And at the end of the day, like, no one thinks that, because just like you, like, if you guys are at a race and you see that someone's clueless or lost, like, you it's not like we sit and laugh at them. It's like we try to help. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, hey, like, well, how's your kid? Like, they should be in this class and this, and then that's just like how all these relationships start. Yeah. And I think that's what's cool. Like, there's no reason why anyone should ever come to a race feeling like they don't know and they're not going to get help. Right? There's always people there that are going to help you, and like us at Lincoln Trail, like the girls that work in the office and any of us, like, super welcoming and like want to host it and help anyone they can. And I know especially our amateur series can be a little overwhelming because of how many people are there.
It's national, bro. That's a national every month at Lincoln Trail.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. And that's like what it's awesome. And people are coming there for the competition, because how many local amateur motocross series can you show up at the gate and have full gates? Or do you show up and you have divisions? Like, we are having to cap classes, and sometimes, like, some of them will open up in the summer and stuff like that. But like right now, like, we've pushed it hard. We can't open up classes just because of the time change, and like it gets dark early. You know what I mean? And we run it boom, boom, boom. And the thing is like, me and Drew are big on not cutting laps and things like that, unless like something's out of our control and we have to.
Sure.
But like, we don't want to just try to take in everybody, like, and we don't want to piss anyone off and be like, "Hey, you can't come." But it's like, hey, when pre-registration opens, we're pushing it hard. We're only having 42 guys, and once you guys are alternate, I mean, you're an alternate. If someone doesn't show up, you're in. But like, when that pre-reg opens, it's the same for everybody. Anyone can order or sign up at that time. So it's hard, because it's like, man, you never want to turn anyone away, and that's not the thing. But like, I think the people that have been there and everything also understand and respect that, where it's like, hey, you're trying to just put on the best show that you possibly can. You know what I mean? And you're going to run it smooth and you're going to crank through it and you don't want to cut laps and you don't want to do this and you don't want to do that. Boom, 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 check, check, check. And it's just like, you're going to have an awesome experience when you come there. Like, I truly believe it.
Honestly, I think that says a lot about Lincoln Trail as well, is that it's not about the money for you guys. Obviously, it's more about the racing experience, because there are, you hear about it online. A track or an event brings in more people than what they can handle, and then they have to cut laps, and then people aren't happy about that. So now you guys are doing great things. What is the I don't want to put you on the spot, but what is the slogan on your website? It's like local racing, national vibes, or something like that.
Local legend, national vibes.
Yeah, man. The way that I came to learn about Lincoln Trails, obviously you hear about Lincoln Trails once MX Sports releases the areas and the regionals and all that. And we also own MX Threads. Shout out to Lincoln Trail for being on. You guys have some merch on there. That's how I first came to know Drew. But I was looking at the results for the Thor Series Showdown, and I think I first looked at the Abe, which is the Dirty 100 race, and I saw how many entries you guys had there. And then I scrolled back up, I think, to round 1. Then I looked at 2. I went down the list, and every race was like 800 entries or something like that. It's right, what you guys are doing there is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, I really do appreciate it. And honestly, I got to give Drew and Tim, all the credit for that, what they've built, up until this point. Like, Tim bought it back in 2008. I think Drew came on board back in 2010. And, I mean, I think what's awesome is, and Drew, they understand. And so since I purchased it from Tim, Drew's staying on board. That was a big thing. Drew's staying on board. Yep. He's part of what I'm doing. And we're going to continue to do this together and grow, right? And I think that, back in 2010, like when this all started, they were getting 100 entries, 120 entries, right? Like, they were no different than a lot of these places, but they just kept paving the way, paving the path, trying to figure it out, trying different things, and 120 turned into 200, 200 turned into 300, 300 turned into 500, 500 turned into 800, right? Yeah. And now all of a sudden you're pretty steady, like you said, at 800 entries, and that's not including, practice, because we do practice on Saturdays the way that we run it, and we're getting close to 400 practice guys on Saturday, and practice goes from 8 until 1, right? And then we do all our open classes Saturday afternoon, and then we do all the classes, all your age classes, vet classes, pro classes, intermediate, not like everything on Sunday. So really, when just 8 race entries, 800. But when you tie in practice and things like that, I mean, you're getting 1,200 plus entries with that included. So, and it's cool that people are still getting to ride the track. They're getting a lot of track time, and that's what we want. We want people to get that track time, and racing's big too, and we're pushing racing, but also get some more track time, get some practicing in, get some laps. Like learn as you're going. So. It is, like you said, like that Abe race last year was the first race. I actually wasn't involved or around for that. I know that it went well and they had a good turnout and stuff. But like you said, all our other showdown races were pretty close within reason of that. Now I think
some of them were better. Some of them were better.
Right, exactly, and even get more. And I think the Abe's something that's going to grow. I think that can keep building. Yeah. And there's some races like that, but I also think that this. The Showdown series can grow in its own way too, right? Like I think it can continue to grow, and maintain what we have, but then also just making some small improvements, and then me coming in and putting in the training facility there. And there's been a lot of people that say, well, with you doing this training facility, are you shutting down the racing, or is the racing side going, or is it not going to be the Thor Showdown series is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So for anyone, like the rumors that have been going around about that through the grapevine, Showdown Series is going nowhere. Besides, we're still climbing. We're still trying to keep that thing cranking.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not about the money. It's not about this and that. It's about putting on great races, great events, having a great track, and having these kids have competition. You know, when our local race series, we're pulling from between 12 to 15 states every race.
Yeah.
I mean, that says something about, you know, what we're doing there and what's going on. And, you know, when people know they can go there and you're going to have 42 kids on the gate, I mean, that's killer. Like, that's helping so much leading into, you know, when you go to those nationals, those amateur nationals, if you get to those pro ranks, you're not shocked when you have full gates, right? Because like you said, all these local races anymore, a lot of them, you're getting 5, 6 guys, you know, maybe 10, maybe 15 here and there, but you're never getting 42 gates. And when you're up there and you're like, it is a national vibe. Like, it really is.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, dude, this is gnarly. Like, I love it, man. I love being up there and seeing all these kids amped up and like just sitting there, and they're just raring to go. You know, they're just revved up, bikes hanging, and the gate drops, and they just hammer out. And you got 42 kids going into that first turn and battling it out the whole moto. And afterwards, they're all pumped up and knuckles, and just, you know, it's like, dude, it's freaking sick, man.
Yeah.
It's sick.
I was telling you a little bit, but you know, the Texas scene right now is just in turmoil, man. We've got track owners fighting, and they're stacking series on top of each other literally on the same day in Texas. You can have 4 races going on. So parents are trying to figure out who's going to this race, who's going to that race. Some parents are, you know, trophy hunters, however you want to do it. I don't know. But they see all the fast kids going to this race, so then they're going to go to this race. So it just splits everybody, and it doesn't help the kids, because what you see is kids that are racing with 3 to 5 bikes on the line that are pretty good kids, but you don't really develop that super competitive races. And then you go to a national where there's, you know, 42 kids on the line, and the Texas kids are getting smoked. Not all of them. There are some really good Texas kids out there. I don't want to offend anybody, but the point of the story is having 3 to 5 bikes on the line doesn't really help the race. It really doesn't help build that. You know, that skill, because whenever you drop the gate and there's 40 bikes on the line, man, there is nothing like that, especially when you're used to racing 5 bikes. And shout out Swan MX. They just had their the Texas State Championship, and that's all the buzz, right? Because that was the one race where there was nothing really else going on. Everybody showed up for that race. The gates were stacked, and everybody is just, they couldn't believe it. I mean, everybody's posting videos and everything like that, just talking about how awesome it was. So, shout out to you guys.
Right? No, that's sick. And actually, we had the Illinois State Championship this year. Yep. So, and I was a part of that, and that was cool to see. Kind of the weather was not great, you know. So, but same, like for us, we get these type of races and stuff, and not much changes, right? Because I feel like the series, the Thor Showdown series, what we're putting together, what we're doing, it it creates,
Jace Owen Motosports.
Yeah.
I got you, bro. I got you.
It's you get a ring every now and again. It's my fault. Hey, it's just live action.
Hey, man.
You know what I mean?
Hey, live action, baby.
We're live action right now.
Make a sell while you're on the call. It's okay.
Yeah, but this series that we do, and we give, we have a banquet at the end of the year, which really it leads into next year. So we have a big banquet that we do.
Let's set the scene for the people watching. Thor Series Showdown, 10-round series spread out over 7 months. So almost a race a month. There's a little bit of a break there, and then awards banquet at the end of the year. I mean, that's so awesome. And I want to go back and talk about the schedule that you guys have, because in Texas, a lot of the racing is 3 days. So like they'll practice on Friday and then race Saturday, Sunday. So I did notice that your schedule is Saturday, Sunday. The first half of Saturday, it looks like it's practice. You have your open series races, or the open class races Saturday, and then Sunday you have the full schedule, right?
Correct. Yep. Spot on.
Yeah, so I love that schedule. I wish that some of the Texas tracks would pick that up. I think that they would. I think that they would get a lot of positive feedback. I work, my wife works, my son goes to public school, and to pull him out,
Mm-hmm.
it hurts his education obviously, and then the school's making a fuss about it because they get paid based off attendance and yada yada. But
Right.
I think that's super cool. Have you guys always done the
Yeah.
awards banquet, or is that?
Drew and Tim, they've done it for a few years at least now. I
Yeah,
don't know how many years exactly, but it's definitely been something that they've done for, I would say, yeah, probably 4 or 5 years if I was
yeah,
guessing, not 100%. But, I've seen the banquet that they put on, what goes into it. Like, it is cool, right? Because the way that they do it is, it's not necessarily just, or the way that we do it, it's not necessarily just for top 10 in points, right? So like, yeah, if you're top 10 in points, you get an award. But if you come to every single race, like if there's a kid that comes to all 10 races, but he's not someone that necessarily is going to get a trophy because he's not at that point yet. But if he comes to all the races, he also gets an award. So
dude, that's
there's
so
there's
cool.
so there's kids that that they're trying to achieve and get an award, and maybe they're not because they're 15th place and they're not in that top 10. Because for the 50s, 60s, and 80s, we do 10th and up for our awards. We go 1 through 10. So we have a lot of awards, but we do 1 through 10 for 50s, 60s, 80s for all those classes.
Yeah,
But and then for like the PW class, we give them like little medals. Everyone gets like a medallion, like things like that. So that's also cool. But yeah, back to what I was saying though, for we do this banquet, top 10 in awards, and then you do have to race 8 out of the 10 races to get an award though. So to be in the showdown, so you have to at least race X amount of races to be able to get an award. So even if you're
yeah,
in the top 10 and you only did 5 races and you're 13th, like you're not going to get that award though. So you do
yeah.
have to race X amount of races. But then, like I said, also if someone comes and does all the events and stuff, they get an award too, right? They get a pair of 100% goggles because they're 100% participant. There's just little cool
Oh,
knickknacks,
I
right?
like that.
And then you're right. And then we put on, have great food, great atmosphere, great environment. Kids love it. Like, yeah, man. I mean, I feel like they've done it right, what they're building. And I'm blessed enough to where my racing got cut short due to injuries. I was only going to race a little bit, a couple more years anyways.
Yeah,
But timing couldn't align any better for all this stuff to happen and what's going on right now in my life. And to continue this race series is thriving, and my background of racing and some people and connections that I know, hopefully, continuing to bring that in, the training facility side of things, so that when the training kids, I'm still pushing them, like I want them to race on the weekends and stuff like that, our
yeah.
race weekends,
Hmm.
not just train. Hey, we're racing too, because there really is. There's that combination. I'm a true believer that there's a balance. It's not just about training and it's not just about racing. There is a balance to both of them.
Yeah.
You got to, practice. You got to train. You got to work on fundamentals. You got to do your motos. You got to do your sprints. You got to ride with good kids. But then also you need to be able to line up, because a lot of kids are great practicers but can't race. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to find.
The great debate: how much training versus how much racing, right? And there's
Yeah.
that's another big topic of discussion around here too.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the Lincoln Trail property. 235 acres, something like that. I know you guys have multiple tracks.
Yeah. So that's another thing that's sick about what's going on there. There's 235 acres, tons of trails, tons of free riding. There's 2 full-blown moto tracks. We got the bomber track that Mark Barnett built. I think it was back in 2014 or that time frame, so it's about 10 years. And then the classic track. Lincoln Trail opened up. It's been there since 1973. So this place has been there for 50 years, has over 50-year history. And me coming into that, like, that was a great feeling too, right? Of a business that's been thriving and succeeding. It has its highs and lows and this and that for 50 plus years, but that's got a hell of a name to it to be able to say that, right? Like
For
to
sure.
be like, well, this track's been here for 50 years. And with that has been so much, mixing in sand and sawdust and mulch and all this stuff to get the dirt to what it is too, that people really don't understand. Because we come here in Illinois, we got that hard clay, right?
Yeah.
It's the farming ground up here. Like,
That's that farming ground here, boy.
Yeah, we're the farmers up here. But yeah, so yes, we got the two tracks and we race on both of those. So our series, we have two different tracks that we race on. We race on the Bomber a little bit more than the Classic, but people still, they like both tracks. I truly believe that. And then we also have like a family track. We got a corner track. We got a little arena cross, Supercross. I think all in all, there is like 8 tracks there, right? Like there's something crazy, but there's 2 tracks that we use that we train on. Now with the training side of things, I'm going to build like another track, like a training track of some sort. As long as the time happens to get that done. But either way, I got 2 tracks we can go ahead and start training on come March of next year.
Right.
Once I get the hookups, the gym, all that stuff put in. But, I mean, I do want to build another track for training. So that'll be kind of another one that we have. But, I mean, yeah, man, there's a lot. Like I said, 235 acres, there's a ton of trails. I feel like that's kind of what makes the Lincoln Trail what it is, too, is it's just everything in the platform. And, when we have the races, we make it that fun environment and always give the kids something to do and put something on for them. And, they got the pit bikes to ride through the trails. Like it's just, it's first gear through the pits, but once you get back there, if you guys want to cause a little ruckus, have a little fun, have a little fun, right?
Hell yeah. What has been the most surprising thing to you that you have learned about being a motocross track owner?
You're putting on a live event. You know what I mean? You're putting on a live event and it's live action and it's now. There ain't no redos. There's no do-overs. So I would say that like,
What's more pressure? What's more pressure? Lining up a gate, lining up to race at Loretta Lynn's, or being a track owner and putting on a live event?
I'd say they're both different, like all in all. But for me, I would say like, I guess now at this point, like I'm to the point that I'm enjoying more being like a track owner, doing the races, things like that. But you definitely do. You got a lot of people that you have to talk to, interact with. You have, people that are super happy. You got, people that are
super mad,
can get upset about certain things, right? But you just try to find that happy medium and balance, and with the crew that we have, and I think that we do just have a great crew all in all that makes it what it is.
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
Do you
so
ever?
Like I said, I guess back to your question, it's like it's hit or miss. It's both, but there definitely is stress when you come in there and you've got 1,000 riders or entries, this and that, and it's a madhouse, right?
Yeah,
like it's
I can't
just
imagine.
Right. It's full gas, no brakes.
Yeah. Do you ever get the itch to hop back on the track, or are you still riding, or what does it look like for you?
Yeah. So I guess kind of where I'm at right now is, I got hurt really bad last November.
Yeah.
I've had quite a few injuries, but last November at World Supercross, I had a really bad head injury. Then I was knocked out. I was knocked out for about 5 minutes, but once I was like coming to, I mean, I don't remember. There's about 8-9 hours I don't remember, but I was having like seizures really bad.
Oh no.
Just what I was going through, and then I lacerated my liver. I punctured my lung. I broke 4 ribs. I had internal bleeding. Separated my shoulder. Like I did a number on myself, and it was just like a silly crash that just like, I mean, I crashed hard. Like I cased in a rhythm. It was like a triple, double, and I cased the second triple, but I thought I was just going to kind of blow through it. Well, when I knuckled it enough, my feet blew off. So then when I hit that next double, I was like kind of sitting down, and it just caused me to endo into the berm. But it was one of those things where it's like, I mean, I've crashed like that before, but it was just like, it's just how I crashed and everything. And maybe, truthfully, it's one of those things where it's like, I felt like I had a different calling maybe, because right before this happened, I told myself I'm giving it one last push. I knew where my age is. I knew this, I knew that, but like I still had some goals that I haven't met yet, right?
Yeah.
And so I was racing World Supercross for this team, based in France, a Yamaha team. And last year, when they brought me over, like they treated me so good, man. Like Serge, the team owner, his wife, the kids, like they pretty much just like made me feel at home. And I was living in a whole nother country, for months. And they took great care of me. The language barrier was tough, but they spoke English, but like I didn't speak any French.
Oui,
so that was tough, but yeah, oui.
Oui,
And
baby.
so the weekend before I got hurt was Paris Supercross, and I got second. And Shimoda won, I got second. Vial got third. And like I said, I told myself I'm making my last push. I was grinding, man. I was training, like, because my goal and sights was set on I'm going to crush World Supercross, and then I was going to do Supercross this year in the States, and like I'm giving it my all, right? Like I'm just tired of being that top 10 guy. Like in 2022, I got 8th overall in the points, like whatever. But like I wanted to try to like get up there in the mix. You know what I mean? I wanted to make that next step, and that next step was to me being there and like fighting for a podium here and there. And it is a big step. Like it's a step. But once I had that finish, and then that next weekend, raced in Paris in France, got done Sunday, Monday flew to Australia, and then it takes like with the time change and getting over there, it's like 2 days later when you arrive, get there on like a Wednesday. And then that Friday is when I got hurt, and it was in practice. And, it really was just like a life changing experience for me, really. Like I didn't have that itch to get right back on a bike of just thinking like back on a bike. And, when I got hurt, my mom actually flew over there, and like I was stuck in Australia for a month before I could fly back home.
Damn.
And actually like a doctor from the UK flew to Australia, and then he flew back on the flight with me just in case anything like happened because of like my internal stuff that I had going. So yeah, dude, it was a pretty serious, gnarly deal.
Dude.
Yeah, but then when I got back to the States, I was living in North Carolina. I'd been there for like the last 6 years, and I spent about 3 months just kind of taking time and just like healing, because I was having a lot of headaches and my equilibrium would get off, and I would have just a lot of weird symptoms, really irritable from my head injury. So I just needed some time. And, so I gave it, I say 3 months, maybe it's 4 or 5 months or whatever. And I ended up coming back home to Illinois. I had some kids that wanted me to train them before Loretta's. And that's kind of what started all this, really. So I came back home. My track I was speaking of that I used to grow up and ride at, which was on my parents' property. I ended up fixing that thing all up, and I started doing training for, I don't know, maybe a couple months, 6 weeks, a couple months leading up to Loretta's for the kids that were getting ready.
Yeah.
And, dude, I really loved it. Like I'd done some training in the past when I'd been hurt during some summers and stuff, but, I really enjoyed it. And the Lincoln Trail thing, and it just all made sense. And that's what I was saying, where I feel like, maybe my calling, it was time for me to stop beating my head against the wall, trying to achieve a dream and a goal that I just, for whatever reason, it's just not meant to be. Yeah. But now here I am at the time, like I'm in such an awesome place, and if my racing career would have ended up totally differently and I could have been far more, whatever, maybe I wouldn't be sitting here where I am today, right? Or I wouldn't be in this position, or who knows what happened. So like I said, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. The timing of it's crazy. I mean, yeah, man, I'm, like I said, I had a good career, but
it's crazy how
I'm 30.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's crazy how
no, you're good.
It's crazy how those pieces of the puzzle kind of fit, because I'm sure that in your racing career, the crash that you had in Australia, you've probably had worse crashes than that. You have that crash and everybody's probably like, he's hurt, but he'll be okay. And then it turns out to be super serious and just completely changes your career path. So it's crazy how those things work, but obviously it's working out for you. You're doing some great things. So VIP Academy MX. Talk to me about
Oh,
that.
yeah.
As if you didn't have enough on the plate, being the new owner, being the new owner of one of the hottest tracks in America. Hey,
Right.
let's. You sound like me. I take these ideas to my wife. I'm like, babe, I know that I'm doing this. I know that I'm doing that. I know that we've got Cooper Racing. I think I'm gonna start a show. She's like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah, exactly.
oh my God, like as if we don't have enough going on. But so I admire the entrepreneurial spirit. So what made you want to officially start an academy?
I appreciate it, man. I really do. So, I feel like kind of a bread and butter for me is like the way that I can interact with, teaching and coaching this younger generation, and the way that I can pick up and see things and what they do. And I was getting great feedback, and a lot of that goes to, I think, my racing career, my highs and lows. I mean, man, I when I was younger, I trained with Sebastian Tortelli, Shannon Nide. I was at Millsaps. I spent a lot of time at Club MX. I raced for them for a couple years, and then when I raced for Phoenix, we still trained at Club and Club 57 down there in Florida. Brad Jereminski. Like I had a lot of just people and trainers and coaches and people that helped me, that helped me through my career and my rankings. And I felt like, but at the end of the day, it's still how bad I wanted it, and it came on me, right? It's still the racer and the rider, no matter how bad someone else wants it. But I felt like I just learned so much knowledge. And originally, when I was like, okay, I'm done racing, I'm stepping away from racing, I'm like, I'm going to move back to Illinois, and my parents, the motorcycle dealerships, I'm like, I'm going to learn the businesses, and that's what I'm going to do right away.
Yeah.
As time went on, I was like, dude, there's no way that I can just get out of racing and I'm going to be happy. Like, I got to do something within it that's going to like fulfill me.
Yeah.
So when I came home and I started coaching those kids and stuff from around here, the Little Rippers, man, I found so much like enjoyment and satisfaction of seeing them improve and like all that type of stuff. And I was like, dude, I want to do a full blown training facility. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to do a full blown training facility. So I kind of, at the time, I talked to Tim and them, and we were trying to figure things out, but I also like had looked at some property and things like that. And the track that's at my parents, I mean, it's a huge track. It's like a 3-minute lap time track for me, dude. It's unbelievable. One of the sickest tracks for me, like one of the sickest tracks in the nation, no lie. Like I will say that.
Yeah.
Till the day that I die, and not just bias on it. Like, anyone comes there and is like, dude, that place is so sick. The natural terrain, the just the flow of it. But I was like, dude, I can't do that to my parents. Like, I'm not going to come in there and build this facility and like, they got to listen. That's like their peace and quiet time. I got to figure out my path and not like impose on them. I felt like so. I was like, where do I even start with? Like, to go get property and land and yada yada yada. And I really was intrigued by the racing side of things at Lincoln Trail too. And then I was like, well, man, this could be a great opportunity. I mean, it's a full bore deal already, but with the right help and the right crew and Drew staying on board and, finding some more track help and this and that, I was like, I can do it. Like, I believe that I can do it, and we can make this thing into my vision and what I see. And we can have something that there's not really maybe another one in the country that has this type of race series, that has a training facility, and kind of, but still separate what they are. Like, and I'm going to go in and put hookups, and I'm putting in the gym, and I'm going to build like a little training track. Like, there's things that still have to be done. And we have this last race November 9th and 10th, and then it's pretty much full bore into just, some changes and cleaning out and getting the hookups ready and trying to get a pond built. And I mean, just, the vision's there, and I could just sit and ramble, but I've been so tied up with the racing side of things, and me and Drew working together and interacting and figuring things out to where we've got a great game plan, but we're like, we just need to get through the races. So that way we make sure we don't take anything away from that, right? Like, we don't want to take anything away from what we got going. So we're going to stay steady Eddie with this. We're going to end with a banger on this last race. And then we're going to shift up 2 gears, and we're going to be wide open
with a banger
all winter long.
Hell yeah. So VIP Academy MX, you're only going to be training the fast kids, right?
Yeah. Right. No, I wouldn't necessarily.
No,
What?
I'm actually joking about that because you and I had this
Yeah,
conversation. We had this
right,
conversation of people think that you're only going to be training fast kids and it's not going to be available for
right,
everybody. So let's talk about that.
right. Yeah, yeah. No, get onto that too. So no, I mean it's what I want and what I see at VIP is I just want. I mean, I want. I'm gonna have full time training kids just like these other places.
Yeah.
And I feel like to fully benefit of what we're doing, you got to kind of be there for, at least weeks, months, because the thing is like if you just come in for a day, well, maybe that day we're only doing motos, and it's like, well, I just went there and I only did like a couple motos, right? Or like then the next day it's like sprints, well, I only did sprints, and the next day it's section work, and they're like, oh, well, that section work is really good, but you got to kind of like see it through because there's a plan and a vision day after day, right?
Right.
But yeah, so I want to help the younger generation and the kids, good kids, not just sit there and troublemakers and causing a ruckus. I want to hold people to a standard. And I just want it to be like a great atmosphere. And of course I want fast kids, top kids. And I also want kids that are building.
Can you see on your screen when you do a thumbs up, it puts a little thumbs up on the screen?
No, I didn't see it.
It showed every time you do a thumbs up like this, it gives a little bubble thumbs up. I wonder if that will record. That's so funny.
It must be saying because we're like 2 thumbs up. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But no, so like I kind of all age groups. Obviously have to split up the different groups, but yeah, no, I want to help the kids that are, trying to get to the top, trying to qualify for Loretta's. Maybe they've never been to Loretta's, but hey, there's a thumbs up. I see it now.
Yeah.
Hey, trying to qualify for Loretta's, and maybe they've never been there, or maybe they want to just train for the Showdown Series and become, a better racer than what they were prior, or maybe they're a kid that they're battling for Loretta's, right? Like there is a place for everybody. But the thing that I see too, though, is like, I obviously I'll be going to some amateur races, of course. Like, if I'm having the facility, like there'll be a few races I'll go to for sure. Like Loretta's is one I'll go to.
Yeah.
Things get kicking, dip into mini O's, maybe a spring national or whatever. Like, so there's some things like that I want to be there for and, help these kids achieve their dream, whatever that dream is, right? If their dream is to race locally and win, or their dream is to try to be the next Ricky Carmichael, right?
Sure.
Like, yeah, it's so far-fetched, but you never know what someone can do. You know what I mean? Like, look at some of the kids coming up now, and people always said, like, Ricky Carmichael's records can never get broken. Maybe they never will, but you got a couple dudes right now, like look at Lawrence and look at Sexton and look how freaking good and dominant, those guys are in the class. And the freaking class is so gnarly and tough too, dude. Like these guys are so good. Like, so when you have those like couple dudes, I mean, and the list goes on and on, freaking like AP and, I mean, Rock, like whatever, you could name Hunter Lawrence, you could name it on and on. But when right, exactly. The whole freaking top 22, and really even the 250 class is gnarly anymore too. But when there's like a couple of those guys and like Deegan in the 250 class, like what separates them from that tier? Like how are they that click better? Like it's just like, dude, it's freaking mind blowing. Those dudes are going so freaking fast, man. Like these guys now are ripping.
It's insane to watch.
Ripping.
Our house, we live about 7 minutes from Texas Motor Speedway, which is where they had an SMX round. So, and then we're like 30 minutes from AT&T. So we get some opportunities to watch those guys, and they make it look so effortless. It's insane.
Right.
And then, so I think it's important too, like you said, whenever you first started, you weren't winning. And training can be intimidating for a new parent. The first couple of years on, their kids on a bike, they, for some reason, a lot of parents have this mind frame that my kid has to be like this good to start training. When really, like, you never really know when it's going to click for the kid. And they pick up on it so fast that, yeah, even though you're going to be training, and yes, there are some established kids that have been training with you that are going to be fast, there's a place for everybody. And there should be a place for everybody. So, I think that's awesome that you're doing that.
Absolutely. And I think a part of what I'm going to do too is I'm going to have that full-time training stuff, but I think, when there's a few weekends, we don't have races going on, or we don't have this or that. Like I'll do a few, camps on weekends and stuff to help the kids and the families and people that can't be training full time. If it's money, if it's time, if, they can't get off work, kids still in school, whatever, so that way I can still help and cater to some kids. But then also even as far as doing some like maybe even beginner classes or in the evening, stuff like that. Like there is a place, there is a place, and everybody needs help, right? No matter if it's a beginner or if it's full-time training kids, it's trying to be the next Ricky Carmichael, it's trying to just learn how to use a clutch, whatever it is. So It's just kind of figuring all that out. But the true, goal and what the VIP Academy MX is, and what the full blown, if you want to cater to it, or what's going to be the biggest will be, the full-time training facility kids, having the gym, being on a structured plan program, and seeing the course, through the end. Now with that, I still, like I said, we'll have, and we're putting in hookups, having full-time hookup, or having full hookups, water, electric, electricity, sewer. So these people can come in just like, like they come in their camper and they're living there. Like they're living there, they're full time. So I see that it becoming that. We also have the shower houses, full bathrooms there already too, which is nice. But so I see the full vision of what I want to do, of having the full-time kids day in and day out, and really see that those big improvements and gains. But also I want to make time for, like I said, some weekend camps. I want to make time for, some beginner classes, even if it's in the evenings or whatever. Like, because in the summer when, it doesn't get dark till, 8 o'clock at night, like, that's not to say that I couldn't do a little bit of programs, from 4 till 6 or 7, just depending on how much time and what's going on. Because I know that it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. And if this grows into what it could, I'll have to hire another trainer to help me out there on the track that kind of bounces off of me and bases off of me. Because if I get
not if, when, right?
Yeah.
Not if,
no,
when.
And it will. Yeah. No, and I truthfully know that. Like it will. I just try to stay grounded with it. Stay grounded with what it is, because I know the opportunities and what's there, and even. On the Lincoln Trail side of things, like we got a full-blown pro shop there where you can go and get parts and anything like that. And I think that's going to be another big thing when, we're doing the training facility, is rather than all these kids and stuff having to order their parts from Motosport or this or that, like having like an in-house thing,
Oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to have like a, jack of all trades, make this place a destination, make this place, well, it kind of already is, but make this
the one-stop shop.
I don't know. Well,
the one-stop
shop.
Yeah.
And and one of a kind. And yeah, dude. Sometimes I just.
Yeah, dude, the ideas are just popping off, right? So with VIP, are you gonna have? Is it just motocross, or will you have some amateur supercross training as well? Amateur supercross seems to be picking up a little bit.
Yeah, so I think that it probably will. First, it's going to be, just the motocross side of things, but we do have a place to where we're like, I want to build like I said, we kind of already have an arena cross style, but get that tuned up and fixed up, and then build kind of like a hybrid, probably end up doing a hybrid supercross style track. I think this first year, like the main thing, is just going to be finding that flow and that routine of what that is, and figuring out what works, what doesn't, which I have a lot of insight, and a lot of intel already from like all the places I've been, all the training I've done. Like I have 25 years of experience and knowledge. I got 10 plus years of riding, coaches, training, people helping me. fitness trainers. Like I just, there's such a great group of people that help me get to this place that I am. And I feel like I can take pieces from all of it. And then also my racing that I did on top of it, of my career, of my amateur racing, my pro career. And now I can freaking just let it all out and create what I want to create. Really. Like it's exciting. Like it's overwhelming, and I get excited talking about it, and it becomes overwhelming, but it also is exciting as hell. Like, it truly is.
Well, this is kind of like going off track here, but you had mentioned that you were a better Supercross arena cross rider than you were motocross. At what point in your career did you start riding Supercross? Was it until you turned pro, or how did that work for you?
So I mean, it was before I turned pro, but so my track, speaking back to that, here in Illinois, central Illinois, at my parents' house, one time when I got the track rebuilt, I got 2 sets of whoops built. So when I was on like kind of a super mini time frame, I would hit like whoops, not super big ones, but I would like kind of start practicing whoops a little bit, but I didn't have a Supercross track. When I was at Club MX, when I was probably, what would it have been? Probably like my B class year is kind of when I started riding Supercross, really. But I will say now it's becoming earlier and earlier, you know what I mean? And with the Super Motocross stuff going on, I mean, Daytona, which the amateur Supercross isn't much of a Supercross, but with the futures and all that stuff, like I think it is a lot more important to start riding some Supercross earlier.
Supercross at Mini-O's.
Right, Supercross at Mini-O's. Even though, like, to me, those tracks aren't Daytona and stuff like that's like a hybrid. But once you start getting into the futures and stuff like that, like they're pretty gnarly. You know what I mean? So it's like you definitely want to go in prepared as much as possible, and still just the technique of it, the timing. You know what I mean? When you start doing the jumps, whoops. Like I think that's a big thing. Like a lot of the kids struggle with whoops, and it's, I'm not saying they're easy because that wasn't necessarily a strong suit for me either. I was really good at jumping them when I turn into a jump line. When they're really good and smooth, I crush them. When they get gnarlier, like being a little bit shorter and short legs, like it's tough. Like
hold on, baby. Grip it and rip it.
Grip it and rip it and hold on to the bucking Bronco.
Yeah, baby. 8 seconds.
I
say Supercross at Mini-O's. I didn't realize that at Mini-O's, in my head, when you think of Supercross, I think of whoops, right? I didn't realize that Mini-O's never had whoops, but I did notice in some of their photos from a practice or a race that they had that it looks like their Supercross track has whoops now.
Maybe they do. They used to have whoops. Back when I raced Supercross, even when I was coming through, when they had the Supercross there on the 80s and even up until really, I think most of the years, all the years I raced it, like we had like whoops. Yeah. So there was actually kind of a separator that they had it, but then they took them away, and then now I feel like that's right. Yeah. And I'm sure it's a safety thing and factor, but I feel like that's kind of something that does separate a little bit. You know what I mean? Like on there, and but when you have that many people and entries, you got to find that balance of what you can get away with, and that's just like at Lincoln Trail, we have such a big like amateur, like mini bikes. Like mini bikes is where our big numbers come from, and of course, like we could make the tracks gnarlier, more technical, bigger jumps, and so even since I came in, some of the kids are saying stuff like that. But also with that, and I totally understand, but when you're having that many kids and you got 42 kids racing out there and you got, X amount of people coming in, going through, like you can't make the track too gnarly. Like everything's got to be pretty safe. Yeah. And like, I get it. Like I could build a couple big booters and it's going to be a blast, and it's going to be like, oh, that's so sick. Yeah. But it's like, you just keep raising that risk factor, and then big part of it is like we want to keep everybody safe, and we want to everyone keep coming back and have good racing, and it's not about necessarily the showboat, this and that. It's just about a good ass program.
Yeah. So round 10, the final round for Series Showdown coming up this weekend. I I'd actually messaged Drew. I love the environment that you guys have created, and obviously I've only experienced that through the photos and social media, but I think one of my favorite photos that I've seen of you guys so far this year is the toilet paper in the trees with like so it's like the fall colored leaves. There's toilet paper hanging everywhere, and then there's like a Thor Series Showdown sign in the middle of it. And I took a screenshot of that or shared it back to Drew, and I was like, man, this would be an awesome merch graphic. It just shows, how much fun the people are really having there. Like y'all's slogan is "Local Legends, National Vibes." It just looks like people just have so much fun at Lincoln Trail.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with that. And it's funny you said that. It's good because I'll tell you, when I was cleaning all that up and I had a couple guys helping me clean it up, I was like, I ain't ever doing this again, dude.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, cleaning this stuff up sucks.
And it looks like those kids actually knew how to toilet paper, because there's some, I don't know. Growing up, we would toilet paper houses. We'd go to our friend's house and toilet paper. Yeah. And every now and then in our neighborhood that we live in, you'll see somebody's house get toilet papered, but those kids just don't know how to do it like we used to do it back in the day, man. I don't know what it is. But they definitely did it right at Lincoln Trail.
Right, yeah, it's always just like on the ground, right? Like they don't get it up there. You got full rolls, this and that. But it was a lot. I got like 500 rolls of toilet paper to give to the kids to pretty much get after it. But right after that, like the next day, we had this like little heat wave that came through. Because it's been like in the mid 60s, but it was like 80 degrees. We had like 30-mile-an-hour winds, so you can imagine all the toilet paper.
God.
A lot of it blew off, and it just was like scattered everywhere.
Yeah.
So it took like a day to get the stuff cleaned up. But yeah, like you said, man, I know the kids love it. It's all about like making it a family fun atmosphere, giving the kids activities to do, and I know the parents, like they enjoy, watching their kids play or whatever. We have STACYC races, pit bike races. We did a haunted hayride for the Halloween race. Yeah. So we just do cool stuff, and it all takes time and planning and development to do all of it. But like you said, it's what makes Lincoln Trail what it is.
Yeah. I really hope that we're able to get up there sometime, visit you guys, visit the property, check it out. Like I said, I've probably said it too much. I'm just big fans of what you guys do and everything there. So congratulations, man, on everything, on your amateur career, your pro career. Even though maybe it wasn't what you wanted it to be, it was still pretty badass, and a lot of people would love to have those results that you got. And now, owner of the hottest track in America, what you're providing there, and soon to be one of the hottest training facilities in America as well. Thank you for your time, Jace. I really appreciate it. Guys, you can find Jace and Lincoln Trail, www.ridelincolntrail.com, on social media, Ride Lincoln Trail. It's all Ride Lincoln Trail. Just look it up. Jace, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you guys for watching as well. We'll see you in the next one. I don't really know what the plan is here. I've got some other shows lined up. I've got people messaging me as well. So we're really excited to be doing this for you guys. Thank you for being a part of the journey, and we'll see you next time.